So I think that we can finally start this roundtable. First of all, thank you very much to all the panelists and to the speakers for finding time to be with us, but also to the people that are following us in this event. I am Ardian Hachkai. I am Director of Research at Cooperation and Development Institute, which is a think tank based in Tirana. We are best known for our work on connectivity, and we organize Tirana Connectivity Forum every year. This event is an event which is focused on the Corridor VIII, or on the only horizontal link, transport link that connects Southeast Europe 6 or Western Balkans. It will start virtually in Sofia as the East Gate, as the name of the seminar shows it. And it is not only because of the geographical situation of Sofia, but also because it was in the Sofia summit. Then the infrastructure development in this part of Europe got a very big push with the presentation of the economic and investment plan and the 10 flagship projects. The Sofia summit and the 10 flagship projects also brought in this very interesting and useful angle of multi-layer, multi-sector connectivity links, so not only in transport, but also in energy, digital, people-to-people, green agenda. We were very happy to see that connecting east to west, it's actually part of the first flagship that connects the Adriatic Sea with the Black Sea. But it also connects part of the very important corridor, Black Sea to the North Sea, through the Orient East Med. But today we will talk about warmer seas. Actually, we'll talk about the Adriatic and how Corridor VIII connects the Black Sea with the Adriatic. We discussed a little bit the western part and the Adriatic Connectivity Forum that we organized in February. Now we will talk about the eastern part. So without further ado, I am very happy to welcome Mr. Klaus Fiesinger, the Regional Director for Southeast Europe of Hanns-Seidel-Foundation, which has been with us for 7 years promoting connectivity in Southeast Europe 6. Mr. Fiesinger, floor is yours. Virtual floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Adrian Hachkai, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure for me to welcome you all to this conference, although it is, as Adrian just told it, in virtual way, in online modus, but in a certain extent, also this is a symbol, as I mean, of connectivity, of net space connectivity. The meeting is a trilateral, three-country related meeting and event organized by 3 organizations. Let me just mention again a Cooperation and Development Institute in Albania, represented by Ardian Hachkai today in his function as moderator. Then Economic Policy Institution in Bulgaria, represented by Yasin Georgiev, Executive Director. Today he will give us also some thematic introduction and later on some conclusion. And also, of course, this event is organized by Hanns-Seidel-Foundation. And although I don't see my colleagues, I want to greet them and send greetings to office in Tirana, to Nertila, Moscow, and office in Sofia to Bogdan Mirchev, both head of the office. Let me emphasize that our both mentioned cooperation partner, represented by Ardian Hachkai and Yasin Georgiev, are long-term cooperation partners, and we are not only cooperation partners, we are really related in friendship, and this is a fruitful purpose to all the future. Let me thank in advance to all panel speakers from Albania, Northern Macedonia and Bulgaria in their special functions today, but also as representatives of candidate countries of the European Union and in function of EU member country. And of course, I express all my gratitude to Alain Baron, the representative of European Commission. He will also give us later on some statement. I think the title of this conference couldn't better declare our aim, the purpose, long-term intention and strategy. That means better and profound connections between EU member states and EU candidate states in order for the whole region to improve economic growth, to improve better living conditions. By this also reduce poverty migration and brain drain, and indirectly, of course, also lead to stabilization of democratic institutions, and here peace, stabilization and development for all of the region, so to speak, some cross-border mechanism. Interconnectivity means cooperation and communication, and it is not only, as it is so to speak mentioned by the Berlin process, mainly related on the Western Balkan states. It is cross-border connectivity goes beyond this, is much more larger scale, and this means connectivity between East and West, and some decisive element of this multi-phased multidisciplinary initiative and approach is Corridor VIII, about which we will speak today, as some economic and social cohesion for intensification of economic, of course, economic matters, but also political, security and social exchange, and by this for better trust and understanding for the people. If you want, we can express it, this Corridor VIII, that it brings or should bring Europe closer together, so to speak, as some stability factor overall. And summing up, I can only say traffic Corridor VIII must not be not only be viewed from the economic point of view, it is also some added value in social political matters, and so it could be some joint project in a united Europe with a sustainable transformation policy. I know these are big words, hopefully not too much theoretically, but I wanted to give in my introductory speech some general basic intention about this, some deeper.
We lost you, Mr. Fiesinger. I think now it's okay. I think we lost you right at the moment when you, I believe, finished your presentation. Okay. I think there is a problem. Mr. Fiesinger, can you hear us? Because we cannot hear you. Can we continue, I guess? Okay, perfect. So thank you very much for bringing up also something that escaped in the beginning, the very important geopolitical angle of the Corridor VIII. And now we are very happy and pleased to leave the floor to Mr. Yasen Georgiev, who is our partner, our esteemed partner in Sofia. and the Executive Director of Economic Policy Institute in there, to make a short expose on the defining factor of this big corridor, such as political will, the multi-layer nature, the innovative angle, the financing challenges and targets, and also the regional cooperation, basically setting the scope. Jasen, the floor is yours.
So, dear Dr. Fiesinger, dear Mr. Hachkai, dear fellow speakers, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and a warm welcome also on behalf of the Economic Policy Institute that I have the pleasure to represent today. I have less than 10 minutes just to give the framework of our discussion, and I'm really thankful that we have such a pool of experts who are going to go deeper into the details regarding regional connectivity. But before that, I would like to share with you some thought-provoking lines that I have prepared. So I hope you can see my slides. If it is the case, I just want to go briefly through them, and just would like to ask Ardian for a quick signal that everything is visible. Okay, great. So what is more or less the point of my presentation this morning is just to wake us up and to start thinking about interconnectivity in the region. And of course, this is something that is more or less related to this almost internal question about the chicken and the egg. What I mean by this, the thing is the question whether connectivity between the Black Sea and the Adriatic coast is economically rational. Is it viable or not? And the follow-up question is whether there is economic rationale for enhanced connectivity stretching from Varna and Burgas on the Black Sea coast over Plovdiv, Sofia, Skopje, and Tirana, and going to Duras and Bari in Italy. Of course, it is a matter that deserves very deep analysis, but we are sure that connectivity is a precondition for bilateral trade, for investments, and for tourism. But at the same time, we can pose the question whether these three issues, trade, investments, and tourism, follow up connectivity. So which is first? Of course, it is difficult to say, but at first glance, from economic point of view, we can discuss a lot. But it is clear that enhancing connectivity can foster not only economic ties between the three countries, but it could be put into the larger perspective, because many more countries could also benefit from this increased connectivity, and could also benefit from enhancing connectedness among Bulgaria, North Macedonia, and Albania. By saying this, I could briefly mention countries like Italy, Romania, Kosovo, and Turkey. Why? Because Italy is among the top trade partners of Bulgaria. And from this point of view, having a better connectivity with Italy is definitely something that will be of great benefit for companies in Italy and in Bulgaria that trade with each other. What is more, in recent years, Bulgaria has a very large increase into the trade volumes with Romania, which is a country that could also benefit from a better connectivity on that road from the Black Sea to the Adriatic coast. And having in mind also the growing market of Kosovo, this is something that we also have to consider, and Turkey, because of the tensions that we observe between Turkey and Greece, we can also think about the benefits of this connectivity for the biggest regional player in economic terms, which is Turkey. So what are the facts as of today? We have partially insufficient internal connectivity in all the countries, which is, of course, a precondition for connectivity gaps between the countries. And we all will agree that further investments in infrastructure in and between our countries is needed. One example, although Sofia and Skopje are located on the already well-known pan-European corridor number 8, there's still neither a railway nor a high-speed road connection between both capitals, let alone a highway. And at the end, Sofia and Skopje are among the few European capitals that have no direct railway connection. What is more, Sofia is the closest capital city to Sofia, and the distance amounts less than 250 kilometers. At the same time, if we look at the tourism and leisure travel figures, we can surely observe that between Bulgaria and North Macedonia, there's an increase in the number of people who travel between both countries, mainly for tourism and leisure, but also for work and for doing their studies. The statistics before the pandemic shows that 500,000 Macedonians visited Bulgaria in the year 2019, and more than 400,000 Bulgarians went to Macedonia for various purposes, but mainly for tourism and leisure. So despite the high number of declarations and plans, countries remain insufficiently connected in the 21st century. So who has to act? Obviously, these are the politicians who have not only to talk the talk, but walk the walk in order to live up to the expectations of their citizens and to be able to ensure a real connectivity and practical cooperation, also in light of the EU accession process. We all agree that governments could do more to practically bridge the connectivity and the economic gaps between countries from the Black Sea and the Adriatic coast. So why now? We are speaking about this connectivity right now because, you know, the EU perspectives of the Western Balkan region are on the table, and we all should do our best to pay our contribution to this process. Secondly, from purely economic point of view, we all know that all big systemic global economic crises were followed by an infrastructure construction boost. So why not to look at enhancing connectivity as a tool for economic recovery? And last but not least, why now? Because the European Union is heading to a green and digital future. Therefore, railway and digital connectivity between our countries could be regarded as priority projects, and they could be financially supported within different European financial mechanisms. By saying this, I'm thinking not about only grants, but also about loans and equity. And how can we enhance connectivity? By regarding connectedness in a larger perspective and not limiting it to the classical infrastructure only. So one of our recommendations might be to think about combining transportation, energy, and digital connectivity. Why? Because this will allow countries not to build a single type of interconnection facilities, but rather to think about constructing a combination of them. What is more, we could be more ambitious and, if not cutting edge innovative, at least moderately innovative in constructing new infrastructure. This will enable countries in the region to skip several development stages by directly applying latest technologies. So why not, when building a railway, also enhancing the digital connectivity? So what could be done, also according to our analysis, is we have to set smarter goals. Obviously, not all projects in the region can be supported in the same time, in the same way, and in the same scope, which necessitates the adoption of specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-bound, efficient, and resourced goals. And last but not least, we think that nowadays we have the chance to bring together different funding sources that could complement each other. Firstly, of course, these are the national budgets. Secondly, it could be the EU funding. In the case of Bulgaria, it is the multi-annual financial framework, also known as the budget of the European Union. It could be also the Connected Europe facility, the international financial institutions. In the case of Bulgaria, we could also think about the Recovery and Resilience Facility, the Western Balkans Investment Framework, the 3Cs Initiative Investment Fund. I'm speaking about the 3Cs because, as you know, Bulgaria is hosting the initiative this year, and it is a good chance for the country to try to promote the development of the East-West branch within the North-South connectivity nexus of the 3Cs initiative. And it could be done by insisting on or by proposing the further enlargement of the 3Cs initiative by reviving the Pan-European Corridor number 8, which would be beneficial for the whole region. And it could also bring another spin to this very ambitious program and rationale behind the 3Cs initiative. So by saying this, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I hope it provided a general framework for the discussion that we are going to have in the next hour with our speakers from Brussels and Skopje and Tirana.
Thank you, Blagodaria, dear Yasen. Thank you very much for this short, concise, and on-the-point presentation. Very interesting. I just noted one line. I mean, this idea of using transport access to build growth, development, but also to build communities with digital, with people-to-people, with energy connections. It is very, very important for our small region. Now we have the pleasure and the great opportunity to welcome Mr. Daron, who has been Alain Daron, who has been currently at the DG Move, but has been the permanent transport acting director during its setup phase. Basically, I'd like to say that 2021 is the year where there will be a revision of the 10Ts. What's the situation in Brussels? How does it impact Corridor 8? And how Corridor 8 does look from Brussels, if I may take this. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Ardian. And I would like to first also congratulate the organization of this meeting. I believe that time has come to start really thinking about strategic development of our network, not only at the core of Europe, but also at our borders in the Southeast Europe, for instance, where in the past little attention was paid. And this is the reason why I was listening very carefully what Dr. Fiesinger and Mr. Georgiev mentioned. And I would like, before starting my very short presentation, to just recall 3 or 4 important points that they mentioned regarding Corridor 8. I think the first point I would like to emphasize is the fact that obviously developing a corridor, a multimodal corridor, requires to have some strong economic argument to do so. But in addition to that, and I believe that for Southeast Europe and Western Balkan, it's certainly something very important. It also it should also relate to the development of stability in the region. And I strongly believe that by developing this corridor, we can also ensure a better stability of the region. Then the second point that was also mentioned is the geopolitical dimension of this corridor. And when I'm going to show you the next map, the next slide, you will see that this corridor has a very important potential importance by connecting Black Sea to the Adriatic, in a quite sensitive area. It was mentioned before the difficult tension that are currently arising between Greece and Turkey, but I would say more in general between the European Union and Turkey and other partners in the region. So we can also see this geopolitical dimension of the corridor. And last but not least, I think that it is important also to recall that at this stage, the corridor itself does not exist. As you can see from the map, which is disappointing to see that on the EU official maps, this corridor does not, let's say, is not presented. The fact is that we have a road connection present there, but we are still lacking the rail connection. So ahead of us, there's quite a lot of challenges to think about before, I would say, taking a decision on how to set this corridor. But I think there are already strong arguments that are really showing the importance of it. Now, let me, before addressing the question of the revision of the TEN-T regulation and what could be the benefits for this corridor, let me just recall where do we stand with Corridor VIII. It's a pan-European corridor since 1994. It's one of the few horizontal axes that we have in Europe, and that's also very important. So we have a large number of north-south projects. We have little east-west projects, and I think the title of today's seminar is very important. Connecting east to west, it's something which is missing at EU level, not only in this place of Europe, but in other places of Europe where you see that the connections, east-west connection, are still lagging behind. What I would say is the second characteristic of this corridor is the strong economic imbalance between the partners. EU member states, non-EU member states, well-developed countries, other countries in development. But at the same time, I see also a rationale of, let's say, strengthening the coordination between these countries. Despite the fact that maybe the level of development is not the same, I think it's really important that the coordination between the different infrastructure planning is strengthened. And this has not been the case in the recent past. I hope that in the forthcoming years, that could be certainly improved in order to show the, let's say, common goals of all countries in the region to set up this corridor. As I mentioned before, for the time being, it's only a rail and road comprehensive network in the current TEN-T regulation, but we can question ourselves, and I think that this will also be interesting for us working on the revision of the TEN-T regulation to listen to the forthcoming panel discussion to understand what could be the rationale to set up a multimodal corridor and add this corridor into the TEN-T regulation. Now, how can we proceed to make Corridor VIII more credible? I think that it's important, and I'm very pleased to see that from a lot of important partners, there is a strong interest to set up the corridor. But at the same time, I think that beyond the political will, we need to also look at the way the project can be concretely implemented. There are quite a lot of obstacles to remove. It's a quite long corridor. From the Adriatic Sea to the Black Sea, we are speaking about something like 1,500 kilometers. How shall we prioritize the different section? What shall be prioritized? First the road, first the rail. Do we have also enough visibility regarding the new technology and the fact that the Commission has recently adopted a smart and sustainable transport strategy? We need to really focus on the solution that will be fitting for tomorrow and not only looking at the infrastructure of the past. I'm not saying that we do not need infrastructure, but maybe we need a different infrastructure compared to what was needed 10 or 20 years ago. Now, what can we do in terms of the forthcoming revision of the TEN-T regulation? As you know, 2021 is the year of the revision of the TEN-T regulation, which is addressed to EU member states, but also to neighboring partners. And that will be a global package. There will be no, I would say, no separated approaches for EU member states and neighboring partners. In particular, if we are speaking about Western Balkan partners, as you know, all Western Balkan partners and the European Union are part of the transport community, and this has also a very strong impact in terms of common development of the transport networks. So the transport community pleads for a really stronger integration, not a cooperation. I'm really speaking about integration of all Western Balkan partners, networks, and in the future also transport systems. Regarding the network itself, I don't think that there will be many changes in terms of variables, in terms of all standards. But I think at the same time, it will be very important that when the changes will be proposed, we look at the quality of the network rather to the quantity, the number of, the length of road, the length of rail. We really need to set up a network that will represent the backbone of the connectivity for this second part of the 21st century. It's very important that also member states are, let's say, supporting this approach. And last but not least, this revision should reflect the smart mobility strategy. And as I said before, for Corridor VIII, it also means that we should think about new technological development and the way this new technological development could be applied to the corridor. Last but not least, I think that if I would have 3 words to give to feed the discussion that is going to take place now, I would say we'll use these 3 ones. First, we need to develop a clean transport. As it was already mentioned, clean transport is the connectivity of the future. We cannot now only consider that we could build things like we were doing that 10 or 20 or 30 years ago. There's a revolution happening in transport, and if we want to, and since Corridor VIII does not exist yet, I think that it will be important to set I would say, the technical parameters in line with this new transport approach. We need to build a transport infrastructure that is resilient. We need to learn from the COVID pandemic. As you know, it has been quite severely affecting transport connectivity in Southeast Europe, beyond the fact that it has severely affected transport overall in the world and in Europe, with some blockages. And I think that this is a very important aspect also to consider. And when building new infrastructure, you should also build the appropriate border crossing points, which are often missing, still often missing between EU member states and Western Balkans with, let's say, weak capacity. And obviously, when you are facing difficulties like we had to face with the COVID experience, it has created a lot of bottlenecks. Last point, and I think that's I would be ending my introduction by just saying that I'm always surprised to be invited mainly to conferences where we speak about infrastructure and not very often about reforms and the way transport shall be reset up in some countries in order to be aligned with, I would say, the EU practices. We need to be smart when we are deciding the construction of new infrastructure. This cannot go without reforming some branches of transport, in particular, thinking about rail transport. We are still lagging behind in most of the countries belonging to this corridor. And I would say if you want to prove that this corridor can be useful for improving the connectivity in the region, beyond the infrastructure development, I think all your countries shall also think about implementing the appropriate reforms to align their legislation with the one to make rail transport a real competitor with road and with other types of with other modes. Otherwise, you will have a nice infrastructure, but there will be no train running on this infrastructure. So that's, in my view, something important, and I hope that the discussion that we will have will also address this aspect. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dallon. Basically, allow me just to point out 2 extremely important points from my point of view that you just mentioned. The first one, I would call it systemic. The fact that transport policy or transport development infrastructure in Southeast Europe 6 or Western Balkans will be fully integrated into the EU planning. To my best of knowledge, this is the first sector policy that is fully integrated and not adopted or harmonized with what comes from Brussels. I believe that if there is something that we can take among the very important things from this seminar, will be this phrase. The other point, which I think is extremely important for the role of our Bulgarian colleagues in the Corridor VIII, is the role of the European Union, its member state, as a normative power or as a standard setter in defining the development of infrastructure, but also of the reforms. So without further ado, I just point this out as points of discussion for the further Q&A that we may have in the future. I'm very happy to move directly to the panel discussion. We have an outstanding panel composition made with people that work at the highest level of the government, Prime Minister's Office in Albania, Ms. Elona Ayazi, which is Director General of National Development Project at Prime Minister's Office. We have Dr. Harry Lokvenets, who works for a company, which is a public company, but a systemic public company, Macedonian Railways, North Macedonian Railways. And we have Ms. Tonka Jančeva, who is a state expert for the National Transport Policy Directorate at the Ministry. So basically, the most relevant levels of a transport infrastructure. I would start by asking Ms. Jančeva about the strategic importance of the Corridor VIII for transport policy in Bulgaria, and also its contribution, how Bulgarians, our Bulgarian colleagues, see their contribution, the Corridor VIII contribution in growth and development of the region. I was informed by Ms. Jančeva that she will not appear in camera due to some technical issues, but we have excellent audio. Tonka, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Ardian, for the given opportunity to attend this roundtable. I have been working for the National Transport Directorate for 13 years. And in the beginning of my career here, we have a joint expert group between Bulgaria and Albania, which I attended. Corridor VIII is an axis with a very great potential, but in our opinion, there is still a lot to be done. A lot of investments are needed to complete the corridor and make it a well-functioning transport axis. The Republic of Bulgaria, and especially the Ministry of Transport, Information Technology and Communications, is very interested in the realization of these transport connections. The development of the related transport infrastructure shall create political and economic prerequisites for commercial and industrial prosperity, and also market-oriented development of the countries in the region, and of course shall contribute to better connectivity between the European Union and the Western Balkan countries. Almost the whole direction of the corridor on our territory has been included in the scope of the TEN-T corridor, Orient-East Mediterranean, as defined in Regulation 1316 from 2013 regarding the Connecting Europe facility. The Republic of Bulgaria considers that it is very important the core network corridors to be extended to our neighbors from the Western Balkans. And for that reason, in order to ensure continuity of the transport connectivity in Southeast Europe, we have proposed the links connecting Bulgaria with Serbia and the Republic of North Macedonia to be included in the alignment of the core network corridor Orient-East Mediterranean. Our proposal was adopted, and the links shall be included in the new Connecting Europe Facility 2 regulation beyond this year. We have information that the new regulation shall be adopted in June this year. So we have included the two links, Sofia Serbian border and Sofia Macedonian border in the Orient East Med core network corridor. As far as it concerns the infrastructure on the Bulgarian territory, it should be mentioned that it is in good condition and many projects are being implemented in the last 10 to 15 years. For example, in the road transport, we have constructed the whole Trachea motorways between Sofia and Burgas. And also we have the previous motorway Lulin. Now it's part from Struma motorway. It connects Sofia with Pernik. Many railway lines have been also rehabilitated. For example, on the railway line Sofia-Plovdiv, Stara Zagora, Burgas, intermodal terminal in Plovdiv has been built, and we are still working on the modernization of the railway line Karnbat-Sindel in the east part of the corridor. As well, we are introducing modern technologies in our ports in Varna and Burgas, which are again part of the corridor. The development of a coherent and seamless transport network across Europe and its neighboring regions is a very significant challenge and a great opportunity for all of us. But unfortunately, it requires not only huge financial resources, but also a very good coordination in order to reach and implement the necessary interoperability, common standards, and procedures. I think it's a chance to deepen our cooperation and to develop a new level of partnership that would facilitate trade, support research and development, create new job opportunities, and increase the economic growth in general. It's of a great importance for us to develop and upgrade the transport links towards the Western Balkan countries. Some links are missing. For example, that is the link between Gueshevo and the border with modern Macedonia. And we are still working on some railway projects along the direction of Corridor VIII. We have some works to do at some sections on Sofia-Plovdiv railway line. The sections are very small one, and they were financed under the operational program Transport and Transport Infrastructure for the period until 2020, and under the Connecting Europe facility. Additionally, we implemented a technical assistance project related to the modernization and construction of the railway lines from Sofia to the border with the Republic of North Macedonia. And in the next, I think it's current programming period, 2021-2027, we envisage to implement some projects on the corridor, especially the modernization of the railway line Sofia-Pernik-Radomir, the section Sofia-Pernik and the section Pernik-Radomir, to modernize the railway section Radomir-Gueshevo, and if we have financing to construct the railway link between Bulgaria and the Republic of North Macedonia. As far as it concerns the road direction of the corridor on our territory, it should be noted that the infrastructure has the capacity to take the traffic flows from and to the Western Balkan countries, and at this stage more than half of the roads have been built as motorways. The future guidelines for further development of the route are related to the construction of the highway Gioshevo-Kyustendil-Dupnica, but it's necessary to conduct a feasibility study to determine the indicative value of the project. And on the east gate of the corridor, we have to construct the Black Sea motorway, but these two projects are not in the responsibility of the Ministry of Transport. They are at the Road Infrastructure Agency and the Ministry of Regional Development and Public Works. So that's on our side. I hope that in some 10 years forward, we shall have the corridor completed.
Thank you very much, Tonka. It looks really impressive, the list of the actions that you are implementing right now. But I will take, I'll just choose to take one phrase of what you said. I mean, the need for deeper cooperation and a new level of partnership among all the countries and actors around Corridor VIII. So I leave now the floor to Mr. Lokvenets, the Director of Railways of Republic of North Macedonia. I think that he has some very good news to share with us regarding the development of the rail links in the North Macedonian Republic. The floor is yours, Mr. Lokvenets.
Thank you, Adrian. Dear participants, I already shared by chat line a video which shown our activities in section in Corridor VIII. But let's start. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, allow me to introduce myself. I'm Harry Lokvenets, and I'm within 6 months, I'm Director of Public Enterprise, Macedonian Railway Infrastructure. The main scope of works of the public enterprise for railway infrastructure is construction of new railway lines, reconstruction and renewal of the existing ones, and their maintenance. The current projects represent a significant part of the capital investment in the Republic of North Macedonia and play an important role in the development process of the infrastructure and transport sector in both national and regional aspects. There are 2 pan-European corridors crossing on the territory of the Republic of North Macedonia, such as the Corridor 10 from place Stabanovce to City Gevgelia, with the branch 10D from Veles to Kremenica, same to the border with Greece, and Corridor 8 with the central section from Kumanovo to Kičevo that is fully operational, and 2 sections from Kumanovo to the border with Republic of Bulgaria in initial phase of construction, also known as the eastern part of the Corridor 8, and from Kičevo to the border with Republic of Albania, also known as a western part of the Corridor 8. The Corridor 10 represents the crucial railway infrastructure with the highest importance and in this moment, considering that it is the shortest lane for passenger and goods transport in aspect of connecting the north and south of the country and Europe. This corridor in Republic of North Macedonia has a length of approximately 250 kilometers from border with Republic of Serbia, place Stabanovce, and the border with Republic of Greece, City Gevgelia. The further reconstruction and modernization of this railway track could bring a positive benefits in the area of economic, social, and political aspect. But for us, for today meeting, important is Corridor 8. The Corridor 8 is one of 10 pan-European corridors connecting the Adriatic and Black Sea by the east-west land road. Starting at the Italian ports of Bari and Brindisi, the corridor runs to the port of Durrës in Albania and far and on a land road to Tirana, Skopje and Sofia, finally arriving in the Black Sea ports of Burgas and Varna. In this regard, it has a significant importance for Republic of North Macedonia from a geopolitical and geoeconomic point of view. Along its route, Corridor VIII is connected with pan-European corridors 4, 9, and 10. Railway Corridor VIII, which passes through the territory of the Republic of North Macedonia, has two links which are missing. One towards the Republic of Albania and the other one towards Republic of Bulgaria, and it's in the length of 305 kilometers. And it consists of three parts such as eastern part, Kumanovo, Beljakovce, Kriva Palanka, Deve Bair, border with Republic of Bulgaria with length of 89 kilometers. This railway is under construction. Central part, Kumanovo, Skopje, Kičevo, with length of 154 kilometers. It is existing railway track. And third, western part from Kičevo to Lin, border with Republic of Albania with length of 63 kilometers. Feasibility study with preliminary design and EIA study were done in 2011, and the grant funds for preparation of the main design are approved by IPA, and process of preparation of the main design was completed in December 2017. The section Kriva Palanka, border with Republic of Bulgaria, as a central part of Railway Corridor VIII, is a part of CITO comprehensive network and 10T extension in the Western Balkans region, in line with the connectivity agenda and WBIF goals and the targets of the Transport Community Treaty signed in 2017 between the Western Balkan regional participants and the EU that envisage progressive integration and transport markets of the Southeastern Europe partners into the EU transport market on the basis of the relevant acquis, including the area of technical standard, interoperability, safety, security, traffic management, social policy, public procurement, and environment for all models of transport, excluding air transport. The eastern part of Corridor VIII is divided into three phases, where the reconstruction of the railway section from Kumanovo to Beljakovce is the first phase of 31 kilometers, where works have already completed. Nothing that currently 54% of the works are completed, and the works shall continue at their fully successful implementation and completion. The second phase refers to reconstruction of the railway section from Beljakovce to Kriva Palanka with length of 36 kilometers, where the main design is already prepared. The credit line is secured from grant funds and loan by EBRD, and the tendering procedure for pre-qualifications selection of contractor is in progress. The third phase refers to the construction of the railway section from Kriva Palanka to the border with Republic of Bulgaria. For the third phase, the main design is prepared. The estimated funds that have to be secured in the amount of approximately 450 million euros, with 60.7 million euros provided from IPA and pending approval of WBIF grant of 150 million euros. For the first and second phase, the evaluation of the constructor application is ongoing and is expected to be completed by the end of this month. The constructors is expected to be selected this fall in third quarter of this year. The construction work for phase 1 and phase 2 will start it immediately after signing the contract with the contractor. Regarding Kriva Palanka-Devebair, both Macedonian and Bulgarian sides have started an intensive cooperation in order to achieve our goals in given milestones. Regarding the cooperation, a technical commission has been formed by the two railway companies, which are intensively working with meetings on monthly basis. Also, both directors, myself and Mr. Krasimir Papuchitsky, are actively engaged to this process. Meanwhile, there is an initiative for a three-party meetings on the highest level between prime ministers, sector ministers, and railway company directors of three countries, Macedonia, Bulgaria, and Albania, in order to discuss about every details of the project of connection of Corridor VIII. The western part of Pan-European Corridor VIII through the territory of Republic of North Macedonia is the railway section from Kičevo to border with Republic of Albania, with total length of 63 kilometers. For this section, the main design was prepared in 2017 with EU IPA 1 funds. After the station of Struga, the railway track is passing near the coast of Ohrid Lake, and the connection point is at the territory of Republic of Albania at the place named Lin. UNESCO is currently concerned about this part of the railway track in the environmental and ecological aspect. Therefore, the public enterprise of Macedonian railway infrastructure suggested this western section to be divided in two phases, or in particular, the first phase from Kičevo to Struga with length of 50 kilometers, where the works could be completed without any bottlenecks, and the second phase from Struga to the border with Republic of Albania is envisaged to be redesigned with a new project documentation under the suggestions and recommendations from UNESCO. The estimated funds required for construction of these two new railway sections is 525 million of euros, of which 426 millions are required for the first phase. We are already communicating with Albanian railway company in order to find the best solution for the both parties, which means continuing with the plan design and construction of the railway and also keeping track and respecting the recommendations given by UNESCO. Regarding that, Macedonian Prime Minister, Mr. Zoran Zaev, initiated bilateral meeting on the highest level between prime ministers, sector ministers, and railway company directors to discuss about the problem with UNESCO. With the complete construction of the Corridor VIII, a transnational railway connection would be provided, which would connect the Mediterranean Adriatic area with the Black Sea, which would mean new economic perspective between Albania, North Macedonia, and Bulgaria. There would also be a connection with the Corridor VIII and a better connection with the Italian ports, Bari and Brindisi. This would additionally strengthen the benefits and justification of this project for the Republic of North Macedonia and for the whole region. Dear participants, I hope you enjoyed in this presentation and that I provide you with information and data about the current and future plans related to the development of the railway infrastructure sector in my country. Thank you all for being here today with me virtually and taking the time to patiently listen to what I had to say. I hope that in the very first occasion, we will be able to share our experience and knowledge in life. All the best from me and take care of yourself. Thank you.
Dear Harry, thank you very much for your very comprehensive and detailed presentation. I'd like to, my tradition, point out the very important multi-stakeholder involvement that you just mentioned, this, which I will illustrate with this initiative, bilateral initiative between Albania, North Macedonia, and Bulgaria, involving prime ministers and also rail companies, which is, I think, a perfect illustration of the need to bring together politicians, technicians, and also implementators and executors. And this brings me naturally, not only geographically, from the Black Sea to North Macedonia to the Adriatic Sea, but also by involving the highest office in our country, the office of the Prime Minister, the representative in this case, Ms. Elona Yazi, to provide us with a view of the Corridor VIII on the Albanian part. Finally, we have arrived at the western border. How is it going with what was going on with the port of Durrës, and what are the plans with the railway connecting with the two other countries? Ms. Ayazi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ardian. I'm Elona Yazi, General Director of the Strategic Projects in the Prime Minister Office. I'm in charge for the preparation of the single project pipeline of Albania. That is the package of the strategic projects in Albania. And in the same time, I act as the Secretariat of the National Investment Committee in Albania. Albania has made the connectivity agenda and the economic investment plan one of its highest priorities, with a special focus on the preparation and financing of the infrastructure projects, and in the same time in the implementation of the technical standards and the reform measures that we call soft measures. All the high priority infrastructure projects are part of the single project pipeline and are clearly reflected in the economic reform program of Albania. As you know, Albania suffered two shocks during 2019, the earthquake and the COVID pandemic during 2020. And these shocks has dominated our recent economic developments. The priority of the government of Albania for economic recovery and to accelerate the process of integration with EU has prepared an ambitious investment plan with a focus the acceleration of the infrastructure project implementation. As you know, Albanian Corridor VIII, the Albanian part, has not been included in the Flagship 1 of the economic investment plan. We have only been included in the Flagship 3 with the corridor Adriatic Ionian corridor. We have an official exchange with the European Commission. We have proposed Corridor VIII to be included as a flagship project because to see as a priority not only for Albania but even for EU for this economic importance that the Corridor VIII has for Albania, North Macedonia, and Bulgaria. In the beginning of this year, in January, we received a letter from European Commission with focusing in the Corridor VIII and say that the part of Albania will be included as a priority for the upcoming period 23-24. This is a good news because we can combine our efforts to propose that the Corridor VIII part of Albania to be included as a core network and to have the green light to continue with the implementation of the project that we have started. Regarding the Albania's priority projects in the Corridor VIII, Port of Durrës is one of the main projects. The government of Albania has the vision to make Durrës as a hub for multimodal transportation, not only for Albania, but even for the neighborhood countries like Kosovo and North Macedonia, that do not have access in maritime transport roads. For this purpose, we have started the process of identifying the options to expand Port of Durrës. Taking in consideration that Port of Durrës is a city port, the possibilities of expanding within the city of Durrës are limited. So in the new master plan has been identified the option to have two locations within one port authority. Within the Durrës Port Authority, we will have the Port of Durrës, the city port of Durrës, dedicated to tourism and rural, and another port that we aim to construct very soon, Porto Romano, that is only 7 kilometers from Port of Durrës, dedicated to cargo. This new vision and this new mega project, let's go like this, because the new Porto Romano will cost around 300 to 400 million euros, will make the government of Albania to start in the same time the implementation, preparation and implementation of the transport projects both in roads and in railway. We have started the preparation of the studies for the railway transport project connecting Port of Durrës with Ogradec-Zlin and the border to North Macedonia almost 3 years ago. We have concluded the feasibility study for all the line, but taking consideration that this project is not core network, we had some difficulties in continuing with the preparation of detailed design for all the links. Now we have concluded the detailed design only for the segment from Durrës to Rogozina, and we are in close contacts with the EU delegation in Albania and EIB as a lead FI to apply at least this section for investment grants in the upcoming investment call of WBIF. At least we will start this very important Corridor VIII project. And then we can proceed with the preparation and implementation of other segments. Regarding the road transport, we have again the same problem. We started to discuss with EU delegation in Albania because linking Durrës with North Macedonia, it's a big project that is around 900 million euros and need a lot of interventions. At least this project has been categorized as category B from EU Commission, but we tried at least to start the preparation of the feasibility study from Elbasan Highway to Chapman, north with and living with border with North Macedonia in WBIF last year, but we received negative evaluation because taking consideration it was the last call of IPA 2 and they have the limitation in the funds, but we will apply again at least to start a preparation of studies for this important project, and then we can combine loans, grants from you, and budget funds to accelerate the implementation of the projects. But following the implementation of this project, it's very important for Albania because we have this macro plan and we are working in parallel with different projects. And it's very important that these projects to go in parallel. So we will progress with Port of Durrës. In the same time, we need to progress with the railway project, and in the same time to start the preparation and implementation for the road project. Going parallel with these projects will be very important. So in short term, let's say in 5-7 years, we will have this project in place, and this will make a big change for not only for Albania, but I think for the region. It's very important, the initiative of the Prime Minister of North Macedonia to start the coordination both in political and in technical aspects, because sometimes we have this engagement during the regional meetings in political aspects, but when we go to technical aspects, we have some problems regarding to the project's preparation and implementation. And when we speak for regional projects, this is very important because we cannot propose segments without coordinating with other countries, neighborhood countries, because this will give us another prospect and another push and another argument when we go to negotiate and regarding our projects. And we all Balkan countries have this single project pipeline that is national. It will be important even to have this regional single project pipeline, so we can identify in advance our projects and with regional projects, and we can coordinate and harmonize our actions and our plans in political aspects and in technical aspects. That is very, very important. So I thank all of you for this initiative. I thank our colleagues from North Macedonia for taking this initiative and sending this official letter. It's, I think it's a good step, and I hope that we will progress very well with the implementation of priority Corridor VIII projects. Thank you, Artyom. Thank you all, colleagues.
Thank you very much, Ilona. I take the point of the need for a regional single project pipeline, which is something that the Albanian side have raised, I think, if I'm not wrong, some time ago. So I think that here we have finished the panel. We have gone a little bit over the time, but we will take the next minutes until the end to leave the floor for questions and answers. And I have a first question for Mr. Alain Baron from Mr. Claudio Polignano, who works for the Puglia region, where Bari and Brindisi port are, asking for what are the possibilities of the synergy between the IPA cross-border cooperation programs with the EU programs. Mr. Baron?
Yes, thank you very much for this question, which is very interesting, and I would say is fully in line also of the discussion that under intervention that took place in this panel. The first thing I would like to mention is the fact that we already have some regional cooperation mechanism in place at two levels. One is the Transport Community Secretariat that also works in order to ensure that the planning and the programming of the different infrastructure projects in the region and with member states, because we should not forget that the Transport Committee is also, Transport Committee is also, let's say, belonging to the EU. So we have the chance to have this structure in place that can play a very important role in coordinating this investment, and also in promoting the harmonization of some standards, in supporting the partner countries in providing their financing requests to the European Union when this is needed. I think that this opportunity is new. The schedule was set up only a few years ago and should be certainly further explored by the partners in the region in order to ensure that in the end we have a better coordination, not harmonization of the financial instruments, but a better coordination between the financial instruments. I also want to
I think we lost you.
Cool.
I think we have lost
as you rightly mentioned, the new connecting your facility. Can you hear me?
If you can,
now you can hear me?
The second point, if you can restart the second point, we lost you for a couple of moments.
Yes, sorry. I was so also mentioning the fact that beyond this transport committee, we have some regional cooperation mechanisms in place, like the Adriatic-Ionian strategy, that is currently, I think, is steering board meeting in a few days. Through this strategy, it is possible to work together with all countries, being EU member states or non-EU member states, to develop some soft measures, some programs, some approach in the development of some measure that could be, for instance, VTMIS, when it is related to the control of navigation on the Otranto Straits. It could be some systems to better monitor the traffic across the region to ensure that when the new investment will take place, it will be fully in line with the traffic. The user is currently working on all these aspects, and obviously then makes the proposals to the member states or to the partner country to submit this project to EU funding. So the structure are there to coordinate. Then what is important, I think, is also the commitment of the different partners, being EU member states and non-EU member states, to fulfill their obligations and also to support what is provided by this regional cooperation mechanism. So I think that's I would say most of the structure to strengthen the cooperation are in place. We should better use this opportunity in the future to make transport operation more credible in the region.
Thank you, Mr. Baron. Is there any other question? I mean that, or maybe from the participants, any comments? The panelists? About better coordination between IPA instrument and also structures and the EU ones?
May I ask one question myself?
Please.
Yeah, sorry. I was very pleased to see that there is a strong ambition in development of transport infrastructure across the region, with a certain number of important projects that were in the pipe for a long time, and now that's coming closer to, I would say, the implementation. But I would like to understand, and that's a question that I'm trying to respond to myself, but I do not have the answer. Is there, I would say, a common strategy, a common approach in terms of development of transport in your countries? It's very important if we are planning big infrastructure project with a large amount of funding involved, that in the end we are all, let's say, going towards the same direction. If one country consider that the future is on rail and the other are considering that the future is on roads, I think there we are facing a big problem. Maybe now the situation has changed, but I can give you the figure that I have in mind, which is between 2004 to 2016-17, in the region, road received 10 times more investment than rail. So that's the reality. So I'm very happy if now this reality has changed, but I would like to be sure that you have set in place between your different, your respective administration, this cooperation mechanism, and you have really thought about a joint strategy for developing not only the infrastructure, but also the transport services that go together with the infrastructure. And if you believe that rail is important, which I'm very pleased to hear about that, then it should be something which is supported by all the partners in the region. So that was my question.
Well, that's, I mean, perfectly legitimate and very interesting. And I think it was also one of the main figures that came up during this session. I mean, this initiative coming from all the countries, and especially illustrated by the initiative of Prime Minister Zaev to involve the Albanian counterpart, also the Bulgarian counterparts, in better planning, better coordination of the rail links between all those countries. I believe that, I mean, just a quick questions for Mr. Lokvenets. I mean, you mentioned you provided a lot of information, and we would love very much to have them, if possible, in a written form, so that we can share them. About work in different segments in North Macedonia. Is there any, let's say, any centralized system in which we can observe and can see where we can find all this information, which is, let's say, organized in a, I don't know, database or whatever? Or in a table somehow that you update?
Mr. Adrian, in this moment, we didn't have a database with all that information, but as soon as possible, we can prepare all information that you need for preparing some document or something else, or for some analysis. So let's be in contact, and we'll share with you. We will prepare and share all that information.
That's perfect. Great. Thank you very, very much. I mean, it's very conducive. One of the reasons why I'm asking is that in cooperation with the Puglia region and with the Montenegrin Ministry of Infrastructure and the Albanian Ministry of Infrastructure, we have set up a kind of an initiative called South Adriatic Connectivity Governance, in which we identify the projects that connect our three countries, and we say the infrastructure projects, and we identify in which phase they are, who are the owners, who are the promoters, etc., etc. My idea, by listening to all this discussion, is that we can try something, we can extend it somehow to include also Corridor VIII. So everybody that is interested to know where the advances in Corridor VIII stand, they can just hook up in the website and or in the platform. I can check how the works are producing, where the project phases are in each segment, etc. Just an idea that came up like this.
Okay, you can count on us for any initiative and idea that you have for future activities.
Perfect. So I guess we have another 3 minutes before we close our event. I guess even doing it with Hanns Seidel Stiftung, it must have been a German methodology to stay rightly on the time and to be as exact as possible. So I would like to take this last 2 minutes to provide just 2 lines for the conclusions. First of all, I'd like to mention the very important fact mentioned by Mr. Baron, that this time the development of transport infrastructure in Western Balkans will be fully integrated with the EU policy making. I think this is one of the main messages of this seminar. The other one has to be with something that was mentioned by all the panelists. The fact that all 3 countries at the highest political level, at prime minister level, but also at specialist level, has posed the rails, so to say, to use the right metaphor, for a stronger and more intense cooperation in all the levels. I'd like to finish by quoting Ms. Ayazi, in which said that this push for political cooperation at the highest level must be followed with the need for the preparation and implementation of the project so that they can be mature and be able to acquire the financing that is available from WBA for either financing sources. A last word to Yasen to close the event, and maybe to Mr. Fiesinger. Yasen, if you want to say
a couple of concluding words. I'm really very optimistic about the region after our discussion today. So what I have seen is activity that comes from all the countries, and of course it has to find the proper way to be channeled and how to make these projects working for our citizens, because at the end of the day we're doing this because of the people in our countries. We all are more or less having the same issues like brain drain, like need for a bigger convergence with the EU, no matter in the EU or still on the way to the EU. Of course, this connectivity is a precondition for making this process happening, and we are all how to say we have to strike the balance at the end of the day between ambition and reality. But I'm very positive about this, because I see that we all agree that connectivity is something which is a holistic approach that goes beyond the infrastructure, but also includes the person-to-person contacts. And at the end, I'm very happy to see that all the panelists from the 3 countries shared the dynamism that could be observed in the countries. In the Bulgarian case, I'm happy to see that the proposal for including the connections with the border of North Macedonia and Serbia will be included into the new TENT network. In the Macedonian case, I'm happy to see that the country is now trying to revive its boat linkages to the east and to the west. And in the case of Albania, I'm really glad to see this idea about about constructing Porto Romano, which will definitely give another push to the connectivity in the region. But at the same time, I would like also to finally to build upon what our speaker from the European Commission mentioned, that investment is great, but we also have to look on reforms, because both things go hand in hand. We cannot pour money into infrastructure without doing the needed investments in order to ensure that the money that are spent in the most appropriate way. And of course, this goes hand in hand with all these concepts about sustainability, resilience, and clean transportation, which is actually one of the main directions in the years to come. And of course, it is a huge issue to align all the national strategic plans. As Mr. Baron mentioned, we could not think about developing, let's say, railway infrastructure in one country and the other country at the same time doing the same, but in the field of road transportation. So we have to harmonize this effort. And I think that what the European Commission is right now doing, putting an emphasis on railway connection, is something that is going to unite all the countries. That at the end of the day, we have to increase our activity in the field of railway infrastructure. So by saying this, I don't want to take much of your time. Just would like to thank to all the speakers and to all the people who attended this event. And I'm sure that it is one of many more to follow. And I'm willing to express our readiness to continue working in that field, because although our name is Economic Policy Institute, we have been working in the field of construction and infrastructure for many years now, mainly from the point of view of analysis, but we think we could also involve many more stakeholders into the process. So once again, thank you for taking the time. And before giving the floor to Dr. Fiesinger for his final word, I would like to wish you all to stay safe and to be able to meet in person at some time in the future.
Well, yes, and I guess you have to do the closing, the formal closing.
Okay, so Ardian, once again, thank you for making this happen. And we, the both organizations in Sofia and in Tirana, are looking forward to the next steps. What we are going to do within the year, we are going to prepare a working document that elaborates on the future of Corridor number 8. And we will make sure to share with all of you the findings of this working document. Of course, it is a process, which means that the working document is going to be updated during the year, and it is going to reflect all the information that has been already shared today, but it is going also to include all the news that are going to come up in the course of this year. And hopefully we will be able to meet either virtually or in a hybrid way by the end of the year, when this working paper will be ready and it will be available for a person-to-person discussion, either in Tirana or somewhere on the way between Aduras and Varna. So let us wish ourselves, as I mentioned, health and resilience, and keep pushing our region to be more attractive for its citizens and for all the investments, also from the region, but also from other potential stakeholders that are geographically out of the region, but might benefit from improving our interconnection. So by saying this, let's keep in touch, and I just hand over to Adrian to say maybe goodbye to all of us.
Stay safe. Pleasure to have you all here. See you soon, and goodbye. Have a nice week. Thank you very much. Merci.
Thank you. Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.